Hey, what's going on? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, host of the State of the Saints podcast. And on this edition, we're going to be answering questions from you, the Who Dat Nation. And also, if anybody asks you to ever go into that store, get their medicine, and bring them back their change, then you know where I'm at.
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast. Please subscribe to our channel.
All I got to say is, who dat? Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, Timothy J. Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast as I adjust this real quick. Thank you for checking out the State of the Saints podcast where we talk New Orleans Saints. This edition will not be long, but this is a special Q&A edition of the State of the Saints podcast where I'm going to be answering questions from you, the Who Dat Nation. But before I get started, I ask that you hit the subscribe button if you have not already. If you are a subscriber here on the State of the Saints podcast, then I ask that you please hit that like button to help the channel to grow. But let's go ahead and get into it, man. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the things that you care about. As we know that training camp is just around the corner in the next couple of weeks. So we're going to be getting, a lot of football. And I'm pretty sure you feel the same way I do. You're extremely excited about it. And this downtime, it just gives you an opportunity to kind of reflect and just think about some of the storylines that you're looking forward to. Me personally, I've been doing my new podcast, The State of the NFL, and there's a lot of things going on over there. As a matter of fact, immediately following this Q&A edition, we'll be going live on the State of the NFL. And we're going to be talking about running back Quinshon Judkins, who unfortunately got arrested for a domestic violence charge. So we're going to be getting into that. So if you are into the NFL as a whole, come on over to the State of the NFL. When we do that show live, you'll be able to check it out and see how we do things over there. But let's go ahead and get into it. I'm not going to waste any time. Feel free to put your comments or your questions inside of the chat. It's very, very simple for those that may not know. You can always just put your questions there, and we'll go from there. All right, Reginald says, let's go. Who Dat family? OG Jerry, Who Dat family? Only question I got is how many games do you predict we will win this year? Based on what I see and the optimism that I have based on some of the moves that have taken place, I got the Saints winning at least 7 games. Anything more than 7 would be a pleasant surprise for me. But I still feel that the New Orleans Saints have an uphill battle. I mean, we still don't know what this team looks like. All we have, to be quite honest with you, is a level of optimism. If you are a diehard Saints fan, then maybe even some other big-time Saints fans don't have right now. But I got to see something that I can actually believe in. Right now, I've been saying this on several episodes, and I sound like a broken record at this point. I need to see it in action. Once I see it in action, then I feel like that's when I'll be able to give a clear assessment. But I don't know what this team is going to look like. We don't know if they're going to be good or bad, but I'm going to say 7 games based on there is talent on this football team. And if they can stay healthy, I can see at least that. So I'll say about 7. Camp Wars Penning versus Granderson. See how much he improved. Yeah, I mean that should be a camp battle, but I think it's going to be a camp battle between the offensive line and the entire defensive line. You have some guys that are being asked to do something different that they haven't done in Saints uniform defensively. So this is going to be interesting, man. I want to see if this offensive line is as advertised, and can some of these defensive players that the Saints will be counting on throughout the season step up and make some plays. If that happens, then it's going to be a pleasant surprise once again, just like the record would be if they won more than 7 games. Cage match, Shuck versus Rattler. Who wins? Let's go. I don't know who's going to win, but as of right now, I'm going to say that Spencer Rattler will win the competition based on his experience, based on the fact that he started in 6 games. And he seemed like he's a little bit more polished right now than Tyler Shuck is. Now, I'm not saying that the season is going to end with Spencer Rattler possibly starting. I mean, if it does, then that means that Spencer Rattler has exceeded expectations. But, if the season is going to end up the way that some of us feel like it will, which is the Saints not being a playoff contender, but maybe showing you some bright spots, you might see Tyler Shuck in some games. So, but I'm going to say Spencer Rattler is going to end up being the first day starter. Unless Tyler Shuck just absolutely just the light comes on for him and he blows the competition out of the water. I think it's going to be Spencer Rattler. TJ, will you still be on the NFC South roundtable for this coming season? Yeah. I still be there. As far as I know, yeah, I still be there, man. Looking forward to doing the NFC South roundtable, just like I did last season. I enjoy doing a show with Clay James and my guy Smitty. And Smitty, if you're watching this right now, man, happy belated birthday to my guy Smitty, man. I know, he's a big time Falcon fan, but man, what a great guy. What a great person, man. It's a pleasure to know somebody that loves sports and, has become a really good friend of mine, man. So happy birthday to my guy Smitty. But looking forward to doing that show, man. I enjoy doing that. It's going to be fun. It's always fun, to sit down with those guys and do that show every single week. TJ, after last season, or last year's season with the injuries, my question is, will the Saints players stay healthy this upcoming season? Jerry, that's a good question. Yeah, and I want to give the Saints credit because, man, let's just be honest. Like we don't really give the team the credit they deserve when they get things right. Like we always, exacerbate when they do things wrong, but we don't give them credit when they do things right. And in this case, I feel like, they did the right thing. Now, they brought in, a strength and conditioning coach with a really good reputation for keeping guys up and right. He is a well-respected, sports medicine guy around the league. He's worked with the Rams. He's worked with the Miami Dolphins. And they have always been, at the top when it comes to winning the battle of attrition. So bringing in a guy with that type of reputation, it's a great thing. Now, I think that they're going to be able to hold up. From what I've seen from Kellen Moore and his staff, it doesn't seem like he's trying to run guys into the ground. And, in a way, I kind of understand Dennis Allen. I mean, he was a desperate man at that point. Everybody knew that if he didn't perform as a head coach, the team didn't perform, then he was on his way out. So maybe he kind of, went too haywire with the whole situation, went too crazy, wasn't really, focusing on the things that you need to focus on. Like football is a game of strategy, but it's not just about X's and O's when you're playing on Sunday. It's about making sure that you have the guys upright. You got to make sure that you're actually monitoring their workload. So I think that Kellen Moore has done a really good job at doing that so far, but injuries are going to happen. I don't care if you wrap every player up in bubble wrap. Eventually, like, they're going to have to hit the field, and, they're going to have to take that punishment. And you don't want to wrap a guy up too much to a point where, by the time they hit the field, their body isn't, used to, once again, absorbing that type of punishment. When football is over, man, we're talking about 5-6 months of nobody hitting you. So you got to be able to have a good balance. But as long as they have a good balance, I think that, they'll be okay. But it all starts with, being healthy. And I think that they did a good job bringing somebody in that can help them with that. I know everybody been so negative, but what are some realistic things we can do to be successful this year? Well, me personally, I just think that the New Orleans Saints need to, just utilize some of these young players. I did feel like there was too much of an emphasis on the familiar guys. If you're drafting 9 guys in a draft, and of course we know that all of these players aren't going to make the team. That's just not the way that things work in the National Football League. But if you can hit on some of these draft picks and maybe some of these younger players like Kool-Aid McKinstry, Alontae Taylor, and Carl Granderson, these guys can step up. Brian Brzee can continue to build on the momentum he had over the last 2 seasons. Talese Fuaga continues to look as advertising. Maybe, the guard position is the right spot for Trevor Penning. You can find levels of success. I'm not saying that this team is just god awful. I think that, we look around the landscape of the National Football League and, it's about sizing yourself up against other teams. Now, do I feel like the Saints are in the same conversation as some of the top NFL elite teams? Absolutely not. But to say that the New Orleans Saints don't have a chance with some really good coaching, then, I just think that that's just not true. These guys are talented. It's about utilizing the talent on a football team. And I don't feel like the New Orleans Saints really did a good job at utilizing some of these guys. It just seemed like to me like, they latched on to the guys that they were comfortable with, that they knew had their reputation of making plays. But you got to give these young guys an opportunity, man, and not just try to find ways to not get them on the field. I just think that you got to be able to utilize their strengths. If they can't get on the field by asking them to do something, they're probably not used to doing. How about going back to the college film and taking a look at some of the things that have made them successful? That's the most frustrating thing when it comes to watching the New Orleans Saints. I just feel like sometimes over the last couple of years, they spend too much time trying to put a square peg into a round hole. And, you have a bunch of guys out there that's young, inexperienced. And then on top of that, they're thinking, am I in the right place? Am I making the right move? Is this play going to work? You want these guys to understand that they have to be that pro, but at the same time, you want them to be able to trust their abilities. And I'm not sure if a lot of these young players on the Saints team trust their abilities because they were thinking a little bit too much. So hopefully they can get these young players to play free, show a little bit of glimpses of themselves and make themselves feel comfortable being out there. I think that you'll see a much better version of a football team. But, I just think that it's all up to trying to utilize these guys' skill set, the way that, it can make them successful and they can make plays consistently. Do you think we have a top 10 O-line this year? That remains to be seen. Now, there's a lot of optimism. Like I said, there's a lot of optimism watching this, right? Calvin Banks, first round draft pick, really good left tackle in my opinion. I think that he will be a stud. You got Eric McCoy, you got Talese Fuaga, Cesar Ruiz has been there for a while, but I got to see this thing come together. Like I've seen this movie way too many times where teams feel like they got the right collection of players and nobody's going to be able to stop them. And they're going to be like one of the top teams in the league and certain statistical categories because they got these guys. And then the season starts and it doesn't pan out. I got to see it in person. To answer your question, do I feel like they will have a top 10 offensive line? I don't know, right? I mean, there's a lot of reports that's coming out saying that this might be the strength of the team, but I got to see it. This is a theme that is going to occur constantly here on the State of the Saints podcast until I get some information and some of the facts come out, but it's a wait and see approach because you don't know. Like you can say, oh man, they can have a top 10 offensive line, but I don't know that for sure. I know they got some talented guys on the line that can make them a top 10, but are they going to be a top 10? I mean, certain things got to work in your favor. And one of those things is attrition. And we know that the offensive line hasn't had that. There's been very few times over the last couple of years where you had your entire offensive line intact. It's like they were playing tag. Like one offensive lineman go in, another one goes out. That one comes back, and then the other one gets tagged out. It's just been a roller coaster of emotions and frustrations when it comes to the offensive line. But they have the capabilities. If you're asking me, do they have the capabilities of being a top 10? Absolutely. TJ, for the first time since 17, I'm heading into a season with absolutely no expectations and won't fall for the training camp hype this time out. I'm from Missouri. Show me. Absolutely, Eugene. I feel the same way. You got to show me what you can actually do. Yeah, I can sit up here and I got nothing but love and respect for all of the Saints reporters out there that's on the ground that's trying to give us the information that we need in order for me to do a podcast like this, for you to be able to formulate your opinion about the team and what you feel the expectations are this season. But nobody really knows, man. And there's so many years where we see these guys, be what Jeff Duncan like to say, all airline. And, when it comes to them going play in a regular season game, I mean, they couldn't play dead in a Western movie. So I just want to see during the regular season, like when, maybe in some preseason games, you'll probably see a little something. And I'm not even saying the preseason games are going to tell you everything that you need to know, because, I mean, how many times did we see Tony Jones Jr. all preseason, and then when he become a starter, like it's like he forgot how to play football. So you got to be able to go out there and perform consistently where the lights are dim, where the lights are out, and definitely when the lights are on. So we'll see. Will quarterback Tyler Shug sign his contract before training camp next week? I don't know, man, because, that kind of bleeds into what I'm going to be talking about immediately following this podcast on State of the NFL when it comes to Quinshon Judkins. You have a lot of second-round picks that are holding out because you have Jaden Higgins and Chad Schlesinger, two players that the Cleveland Browns end up having. Higgins and Schlesinger, these guys were second-round picks. And, they both got guaranteed money. And, now these second-round picks are like, man, okay, these guys getting guaranteed money. I know I'm going to ball out more than him. So they're looking for these other teams out here to give them guaranteed money. And then also when it comes to Tyler Shuck, well, he's in a quarterback competition, and there's a strong chance that he can be the starter in the league. So, of course he's going to be looking for guaranteed money or something that's similar to a contract that a first-round draft pick will be able to get, and maybe some of the later rounds. So it's well within his rights. But do I feel like they're going to get a deal done? Absolutely. Will they get it done by the start of training camp? We'll see. But I don't see like this is going to be an issue. I still feel like Tyler Shug is going to end up being there. I still think that it's not going to, make things difficult because, well, if he does, I mean, he's kind of in a tough spot, right? Because you want to get a new contract and you want to be able to have leverage, but at the same time, you're competing for a starting job. So if you decide to sit out while you're trying to negotiate a deal, well, that creates an advantage for Spencer Rattler or Hunter Deckers or Jake Hayner, right? So because you're not around. So even though you're trying to play hardball, you kind of, setting yourself back by not being out there. So I expect for him to still be a part of training camp, and I expect for a deal to get done, whether it's towards the beginning or, early in training camp. But a deal will indeed get done. TJ, I believe Spencer Rattler will be the quarterback. He is a ball player. Last year, wrong coach. He just got through in the fire. Yeah, I mean, we all know that. I mean, if you don't, then, I don't know what to tell you. Spencer Rattler was a scapegoat, in my opinion. The Saints organization understood the popularity of Spencer Rattler. The reason why they threw him out there, because people were frustrated with Dennis Allen. They were thinking about not coming to the football game. So they decided that they put their new shiny toy out there, Spencer Rattler, so people can come and see what he's talking about. Plain and simple. Like, I don't care if anybody comes out and tells me this. I mean, it's pretty obvious. If Jake Hayner was the backup quarterback throughout the entire time when Derek Carr was the starter, and then all of a sudden, Derek Carr goes down and Jake Haener is a backup quarterback again. Make that make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. Spencer Rattler was a way for the Saints organizations to maintain the interest of their fan base. So they put a guy out there that was popular. He was not ready for the bright lights. He shouldn't have been out there in the first place, especially due to the circumstances. Bad offensive line, backup offensive line, backup wide receivers, backup running back, all these different things going on, right? And you expect for this guy to thrive. I just feel like that's wishful thinking. And I honestly, God bless you. But anybody that's out here like questioning this guy and saying that he ain't it based on what you've seen last season, I just feel like you're just doing this man an injustice. You're doing yourself an injustice. You know, there was a lot of elements that were not working in the favor of Spencer Rattler. Now, I'm not going to completely absolve Spencer Rattler because in some games he was turning the ball over at an alarming rate. He was doing way too much. Now, you can make an argument and say, well, he was just trying to make a play, trying to keep things alive. And, you know, he's a young guy out there and, you know, he understands what's at hand. But at the same time, they did not do him any favors by putting him out there knowing he wasn't ready for that moment. So it was all to keep the interest of the Who Dat Nation going and keep social media, you know, buzzing and back and forth. You know, they pay attention to that stuff, regardless to if they want us to believe it or not. They understand that. You know, like, look, they want to keep our interest. That's what any business always looks at social media and other platforms in order for them to formulate an opinion about what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. Rather they try to go out here and do surveys, you know, or it's just the fact that they kind of read the pulse of what's going on social media. But they know what's going on, and they knew the popularity of Spencer Rattler, and they knew that people were ready to stay at home. So they put him out there. So I'm not judging him I'm not going to judge him completely based on what happened last season, because I just feel like that would be totally wrong. But some people don't care. They just don't like the guy, and they'll take it any way they can. So they rather sit up there and accept the fact that he wasn't very good and completely negate the circumstances in order for them to feel right about themselves. Well, you know, good luck. TJ, I hope Kellen Moore gets everyone involved. We got playmakers on this offense. I think he will, man. I mean, this is a guy that's very, very smart. He's not trying to, you know, once again, I got to use this term, and put a square peg into a round hole. I think that he understands what he has with his players and he utilizes their strengths. And I think that's what you need to do. You know, I always say this, you know, like, you know, me being a young, you know, coach when, you know, I'm, you know, a flag football team with my son, you know, I'm a firm believer in if a kid does something well right now, like utilize what they can actually do right now. And then like continue to work with them and help them develop their skill set, or maybe help them to do a multifaceted of things. Like, you know, I'll say this, you know, when Paxton first was playing flag football, you know, his biggest thing was running the right way, right? You know, I didn't tell, you know, Paxton, okay, man, I need you to look at this Saquon Barkley footage. I need you to look at this Reggie Bush, right? It's pointless because at that time, like, you know, we trying to get him to run straight. So, you know, that was the focus. And once he started to run straight, I'm like, okay, son, now I can teach you, you know, how to move from left to right. You know, that's what you want to do. Utilizing the strength of a guy and, you know, letting it be beneficial to your team is a plus. And then, you know, then you can add some things on as the season goes along. But, you know, don't be trying to get these guys to be doing something they're not comfortable with. And that was, it seemed like it was a constant trend with the New Orleans Saints. And maybe it had something to do with the contracts. Maybe it had something to do with, okay, man, we ain't got enough money to go out here and get this guy, that guy, whatever. But at the same time, like, I feel like it's kind of wrong of us as onlookers and as fans to judge these guys and say that they slow and they can't do this, that, and the third. And the team is asking them to do something that they never done. Not on a collegiate level, a high school level, nothing. These guys are basically playing a new position, and we're judging them based on, you know, they've been playing this position their whole entire lives. And, you know, it's just totally unfair. So I think that Kellen Moore will be able to utilize guys' strengths more than what the New Orleans Saints have been doing with Dennis Allen, no head coach and tail. Let's see, TJ. I need us to either learn we've got our quarterback and have an encouraging, even if it's a losing season, or learn we don't have a quarterback and suck enough to get our quarterback. No in between football purgatory. Yeah, look, you're gonna figure some things out. Like, we're gonna know what these guys are this season. Like, you're gonna see. And if you don't have the right guy, then it's okay. Like, a lot of second round picks don't pan out in the National Football League. We know that, right? Like, there's a few guys that we can name that were second round quarterbacks that ended up being really, really good. One in particular was the legendary Drew Brees. Drew Brees was the 33rd pick in the draft, the San Diego Chargers back in 2001, right? I mean, I think he ended up being all right. Jalen Hurts, Super Bowl MVP. I mean, like him or not, Derek Carr had a pretty good career. Like, he made a lot of money. So, like, there's guys who end up being franchise starting quarterbacks. Andy Dalton is another one. But are they the guy? Are they the ones that get you over the hump? Probably not. But it's okay. I mean, that's why you have the draft. So, get a good sample size of these guys. And if you don't feel like you got the right guy in the building, then draft one next year. But if they show you something, look, here's the thing. This is what I don't want. Who Dat Nation. I don't want this team, if they fall flat and the quarterback show promise, we sitting up here talking about we want Garrett Nussmeier, Arch Manning, or Aller, or what. Like, come on, man. What are we doing? Like, seriously. Like, I just, like, watch the games logically, even though I know that's kind of hard for us to do sometimes. Like, watch the games with logic. And if the guys stink, then they stink. But if you see that this dude out here wheeling and dealing, and then all of a sudden maybe he'll throw an interception in the fourth quarter or something, tip off somebody's hand and it's intercept. Oh, man, see, that's why we need another quarterback. Like, man, come on. That's what I don't want. I just want people to really pay attention to football and not pay attention so much to their emotions. Like, your emotions sometimes, like, clouds your judgment of what is really going on. Now, you don't want to be like that. Don't just, like, rush to judgment, because if that's the case, then it's probably because you didn't want these guys to pan out in the first place. I don't care who the quarterback is. I keep telling you this. I don't care who the quarterback is, as long as they show promise, as long as they put the team in a position to succeed more times than not. I am smart enough to know that it is not going to be easy for a young quarterback to come in here and put the team on his back and all that kind of stuff. It's just wishful thinking, for someone to come in and look like Jaden Daniels, come in and look like Cam Newton back in 2011, look like RG3 back in 2012. Like, it's hard. It's not very easy. So I'm looking at it from, with logic, from a logical perspective. Like, if a guy looks pretty good and the team just not good enough, then why can't he be the starter next year in a better circumstance? You build around him. So there's that. Zach Bourne, perfect example of that, TJ. Yeah, I mean, so many guys you could think of. I mean, Trey Hendrickson, to me, I mean, you should have knew that. He gave you 13 sacks on his way out the door. I mean, but you have so many guys who the Saints didn't really utilize correctly. I mean, C.J. Gardner-Johnson played the nickel, and how the Saints utilize him, he never really got his hands on the football. His first year when he left the Saints, went to Philadelphia, he led the league in interceptions. So that just tells you right there, man, like, there was a good, series of time where the New Orleans Saints couldn't get turnovers. And maybe if you utilize this guy's strength, maybe he could have been a guy that was getting you them turnovers. But, you got to be able to utilize guys the way that they need to be used and, make them feel comfortable. Now, sometimes, if you have a need and you feel like a guy can actually do something at a different position and it works out, most times they probably do. But, it just seemed like this is way too reoccurring for me, that the Saints just basically just take a guy that has a certain skill set and move him to a position that don't make no sense and keep that man up at night and have him, like Zach Bond, like sitting in his car, like in tears because he feel like he just can't get it done. When we know that more than likely it's the organization and what they asking him to do is their fault. TJ, are you sold on the new helmets? Also, how do you think the new units will look? Yeah, I am sold on the new helmets. I think the new helmets look outstanding, man. I mean, I just think that people have been clamoring and wanting a white helmet for a very long time. And, I just think that, the Saints organization giving the fan base a little bit of a olive branch, so to speak, to try to mend these fences because the disconnect has been real over the last couple of years. But I like the helmets. I think that, along with the color rush uniforms, that they're going to pop and, hopefully they can do some winning, unlike they did in those black helmets that, look like absolute garbage upon their heads. But, they still need a black helmet, but maybe they just need to kind of change it up a little bit. Yeah, agreed. There may be growing pains. And yeah, Desi, and this is what I want people to be prepared for. Be prepared for the growing pains. But, be prepared for it. But, if it doesn't work out, it's okay. Like to me, it's a house money season for me. It's a house money season. Like, they playing with house money. I don't think you ever gonna get this type of grace anymore. Like Kellen Moore's first season, people kind of understand what a team is. But if he comes through and they mediocre, bottom of the barrel his second season, I don't think people gonna be as forgiving. So this year, this needs to be the year they figure it out or turn a page or create a new culture or level optimism or something because people ain't gonna have that same energy for years to come. Honestly, TJ, I'm done with all the comparisons of quarterbacks and former players. I'm looking for the next best position who steps up. Yeah, I mean, look, the comparisons, out there, like I'm not looking for any Saints player. I'm not looking for them to be a doppelganger of anybody, right? Of the past for the Saints. Like I want to see these players create their own history, their own culture, their own resume, and not be compared to anybody, right? I mean, it's just time for some of these players to step up. Yeah, like when we watch classic Saints football, it was a great moment in time, and we all enjoyed those games, and it kept us on the edge of our seat. They had our heart racing, and sometimes when it was a blowout, they had us dancing in our living room. But like time brings on a change, right? And with everything, comes like new legacy, new foundation, et cetera, right? And we just that's what to me, that's what I feel like Saints fans need to be looking for. Not the person that's gonna look like Drew Brees or look like Reggie Bush or look like Pierre Thomas. Like, you want somebody that's gonna be a difference maker. They don't have to remind you of anybody. Just remind us that they won on Sunday. I'm gonna take a couple more, and then we're gonna go ahead and get up out of here. Like I said, man, you can come on over to the State of the NFL. We're gonna be going live immediately following this episode of State of the Saints podcast, where we're talking about Quinshon Judkins and him being arrested on domestic violence charges, man, which is unbelievable, man. And shouts out to everybody that's watched the episodes of the State of the NFL, man. I had a buy-in episode that I posted here on the State of the Saints podcast channel, just because so many people were saying that they couldn't find it, and that's understandable. I mean, when it's a new channel, man, it's kind of hard to find, not in the algorithm or whatever. So, I decided to kind of just put a little sample episode up. And if you didn't check it out, please tell me what you think. Please tell me what you think about the episodes, and but I'm looking forward to growing that channel, man. I really am. I'm really passionate behind sports and really trying to get that channel to be as successful as this channel has been for us. Let's see. Go to almost any corner, and what do you see? A big purple sign that said friendly KNB. Yeah, man, KNB drugs. For some of the younger individuals that's watching this right now, probably don't know what that was. That was a staple in New Orleans, a pharmacy. So many people, are very familiar with that, especially like if you were like an 80s baby, like your boy right here, have went in KNB, had to pick up some prescriptions for, for somebody in your family or something like that, and they always and you always had some candy up in there, they always had some candy that you always wanted to grab. But shouts out to KNB, man. Shouts out to KNB. That was a staple in New Orleans. So, and that's where we've been, kind of been a theme. Been, over the last couple of episodes, just having different backgrounds and that kind of symbolize that classic New Orleans, when I grew up with. So I know some of y'all with me on that. Some of y'all grew up with a lot of the things that I projected behind me over the last few episodes, but we ain't done yet, man. We ain't done. Let's see. Keen Arthur said, TJ, I'm hearing rumors about Corin Sutton to Nola. Are you hearing this? Honestly, I mean, I haven't heard that. But to be honest with you, I've been so focused on, like creating the state NFL channel and getting it off the ground over the last couple of days without like the hiccups and stuff. So, I kind of, haven't, I don't want to say I haven't been paying attention to what's been going on with the team, but I noticed there's been like a lot of downtime. But I have not heard about Corin Sutton. But if that is the case, then yeah, that'll be the big body receiver that you need right there. That'll be the big body guy you need. TJ, we're getting a new unit reveal on the 22nd. What do you think it'll look like? Well, I believe it's probably going to be a gold jersey. If we talk about a new uni, yeah, I think it's probably going to be a gold jersey or something like that. So maybe that's probably what it's going to be. Because they already announced that, the white helmet is going to be worn with the color rush jersey they already have. So if it's a new uni, it's probably going to be a gold jersey. TJ, when you hit up KNB, you had a cop that great KNB brand cold drink. Yeah, man. Look, man, definitely, definitely that. But my claim to fame. Well, one thing that I used to enjoy was going to Winn Dixie and getting them Czech colas. Big 60 cookies. That's what I used to be on, man. Them big 60 cookies. Y'all remember them big pack of used to have 60 cookies in the pack. Big 60 cookies. Mama used to come on with them joints, boys, like Christmas every time. That's what I used to like, boy. Them Czech cola drinks, man, it was just something about them, man. They stayed crisp. They don't make them like that no more, man. Soon, like some of these generic drinks they make now, as soon as you pop that top, flat. Walk away from about 10 minutes, it's flat. Czech drink, I'm talking about that thing still fizzing. You go to sleep at night, wake up and boys take a little swig out of the thing. Still fizzing. I'm like, man, God dog, man, they don't make it like that no more, man. They don't make it like that no more, man. Yeah, but them big 60 cookies, man. They used to, and then they used to be like real stiff. Like some cookie made that break and crumble apart. Man, them cookies was stiff and good, man. And I used to like some of y'all, I know, I used to like the one they used to have, like, they call them the duplex cookies. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah, the duplex cookie that had chocolate on one side, vanilla on. Big 60 used to be sophisticated with it. They used to have the chocolate, then vanilla in the middle, and then chocolate on the back. Or you can get the vanilla, then chocolate down the middle and vanilla, and then you had the duplex. Man, some of y'all, I done lost y'all, boy. But some of y'all, I know I found y'all. But thank y'all so much, man. Once again, we're about to transition over to the state of the NFL, man. So if you're not doing anything, come on over. I put the link inside of the comments so you can be able to check out the episode. T. Riley, thank you very much for the $5. Said big 60 vanilla cookies. Man, yes, sir. Check drink. Come on, man. Where my OG New Orleans folk at, man? Big 60 cookie. Check drink. Where we at, man? I know y'all up in here somewhere, man. I know y'all ain't. Know y'all up in here, man. But I really do appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this episode. We'll be back this week with more episodes here on the State of the Saints podcast. But we got some special guests coming over to the State of the NFL. And I'm happy about this, man. My first guest will more than likely be my guy Brian McFadden, two-time Super Bowl champion with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Been on this show a couple times, so it's only right to get my boy on there, man. He's been extremely supportive of everything that I've done. So he's going to be on the show more than likely Tuesday, and then Wednesday we'll have Steve Weish of the NFL Network. He'll be on the State of the NFL talking to us about some of the topics pertaining to the National Football League. And I just been chatting with someone that I'm really excited about possibly having on the show. That I'll keep you all up to date on that. Just want to let you know this guy's a very decorated college football player, and really good really good individual if you ask me, man. So I've been talking with him. Hopefully we'll be able to get him on the show, man. We've been conversing about a time, so going to get him on there, man. But we're gonna get some really good guests on the State of the NFL, man. I'm telling y'all, you might want to subscribe to the channel. We're gonna have a lot of fun over there, man. And I want to just grow this channel and have it as successful as we have it here on the State of the Saints podcast. But previous episodes of this podcast are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM, and also you can follow me on X at TJAY Jones8. Till next time, all I gotta say is, who dat?
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast. Please subscribe to our channel.
All I gotta say is, who dat?